and welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I have interesting strangers on every single week. Today we have
Billy Walsh.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Good. Yeah, we've already been chatting about all the things you do. You do so much stuff. When I was looking you up, I was like, oh, like the initial thing I found you with was with your music.
Sure.
And then that went into something else.
I'm pushing that the most right now.
Yeah, and then that went into another thing as well. So yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff because you're presumably a super busy person.
Yeah, it tends to add up, you know. There's not enough hours in the day, but try to find some time where you can, you know.
So you do improv, you do that.
Yeah.
You do music. Why did you decide to push music at this point now?
Right now in the city, both with my professional career, I work for the company Sofar Sounds in Chicago.
You work for them?
I do.
That's
I work
cool.
full-time
That's a really cool
now.
thing.
Yeah. And that's an entire arc there. But finding them in 2016, I was just starting out. And music is something I've always been really passionate about and has always been like, you know, some people will have movies or poetry or film or books, but music has always been the thing that I follow closest and really like latch on to.
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted to pursue it and dabbled a bit in high school, but when I got out into Chicago and just realized like the wealth of opportunity, whether DIY or open mics or even, you know, potential venues, I knew I wanted to pursue it.
Because you can perform anywhere at any given night pretty much. There's so much stuff going on all the time.
Exactly. And starting out as a solo artist, it was really accessible for me and easy for me to make something my own, you know, and bring it out and share it with people, you know, perform something that I've worked on without having to rely on other people to show up or practice or organize. And with my improv group, the MoonSharks out here, we've been going strong for like 8 years at this point. Since college, the lot of us came from Illinois State University, our college improv group there. And I mean, we have alumni now that are doing really anything under the sun when it comes to performing, when it comes to acting, teaching, all that stuff. So we've got a really prestigious program there. And when we all came to the city, you know, we joined up with a few friends, one from sister school, Illinois Wesleyan, who we've known for a long time, named Lizzie. And then, you know, it's just me and the rest of the crew from Illinois State, and we all put this group together. But Wilem started with me improvising songs. Mainly from just hanging out in my apartment, learning guitar and not really having anything written. But I have this improv background. So I would sit there and play the, you know, 8 chords that I knew and mash them together, try and figure out melodies and improvise whatever, you know, I felt like singing about or make up a song or song title. And then booked a house show for my improv group one day. And it was like a month in advance, but then the day came and I was poor with reminding them. And it turned out, you know, of the 10 of us, I was the only one available that night.
Really?
So I had nothing prepared. I couldn't just get up there and improvise a set by myself.
A one-man show.
Yeah. But then I thought to myself, well, why don't I just make up a, you know, like folky character name or a band name or something and like go perform some of these improvised songs, and the shtick will be like this, you know, I thought kind of like a mythical, magical Bob Dylan, Dewey Cox kind of deal where it's silly and fun, but also like he's written a song about anything, anyone, any place, anything you could name. He has a song title that's already been written. And so the shtick was to get up there and put on the Southern accent and be like, I got, you know, more songs in my bag than you can name. So yell out the name of a song that you think's never been written. I guarantee I've already written it. And they'll go like, you know, my shoes are made of lead. And I'll be like, oh, I had a pair of lead shoes one time that really took me for a walk. And this song's called My Shoes Are Made of Lead.
So you just make up a song?
Yeah, I just make it up.
Wow. That's hard to do, I feel like, isn't it?
It's gotten easier, but
do you do that still now when you perform?
It's one of my favorite things to do during sets. Yeah. And with the Sofar Sound sets now, you know, it's a live intimate setting. There's a built-in audience. There's just a ton of opportunity for someone like me who, you know, I'm coming up on a year married. I've got this full-time job. I've got other irons on the fire, you know, and so it's really difficult to try and build a base out here on your own and play mic after mic and beg for opportunity after opportunity. But I find myself ingrained in this community with Sofar, where I'm able to pick up, you know, now, I mean, it's a little different because I work full time and I'm able to communicate more effectively. But even still, when I was just playing for them, it was as easy as sending an email and picking up a show.
Yeah.
And because there's such a unique kind of performance where I'm not just at a bar, and I've tried improvising songs at bars and venues and stuff like Reggie's Rock Club I played, and I was like, all right, I'm going to improvise something, and it just does not vibe. People don't know or expect or want to yell out a suggestion.
Yeah.
No one's really as engaged. It's all, ambiance more than it is we're here for this music.
Right. It's more of just like you're performing, rather it's a show. Mm-hmm. That's the difference, really.
Exactly.
People are kind of drinking and mingling and you're just kind of over there.
Right.
Yeah,
and with Sofar, it's very much designed to be a listening room.
Right.
And to have people, a lot of people are just there for the experience, not necessarily like diehard music fans, but still they're there to watch you. And with this, you're able to play 4 or 5 songs. Now I'm to a point where I've written enough to hopefully start work on an album in the next, I always say in the next year or so, but it's been like a year and just keeps getting pushed back. But that takes time. That's a whole other story. And in these sets, I'm able to add something a little different because now, we live in a world where rightfully so, like, a white male straight singer-songwriter isn't necessarily the first thing that people want to see.
Right.
You kind of have to stand out a little bit to actually, I think be respected at this point because there's, a million of me out there.
Yeah.
And so being able to improvise these kind of songs and ask somebody, I do a bunch of different shticks. One that I like a lot, and I'm playing a show tonight, so I'm going to do it. Is to have everyone close their eyes, and at the end of the week, you think about this whole week and what brought you here,
right?
And this kind of like meditative thing, and I want them to like think of a mantra, like what would your mantra be that got you through this week and got you to Saturday, and then I have them open their eyes and then calmly yell out one of their mantras, and usually like multiple people will yell out mantras, and I'll be able to just kind of like combine all that into the song title.
Okay.
And then I'll usually have a few chords prepared ahead of time that I know will riff into a full song, and I just go.
That's insane to me. That's so cool.
People
though.
love it.
I would imagine it because it's like, when you go watch improv, like in Milwaukee, I was taking classes at Comedy Sports. And here I'm taking classes at Second City.
Nice.
So I'm getting into the improv game. I've been like, not consistent with it. Like I lived out in LA for a while. I took some classes at UCB. It's like there's segments, at every.
It's tricky because I feel like, I've never gone through it. A few people in my group have.
Yeah.
And I think we take a lot of pride from being, since college, self-taught, and self-coached.
Yeah.
And being out in the city, we found opportunity without necessarily ingraining ourselves into the community, the improv and comedy community in general, which has had its own tumultuous ups and downs, especially in the last few years in Chicago. But what is valuable about it, especially for a young actor improviser, is like, again, it's a community. You're able to find your people, your tribe, your group, and really make a name for yourself. And that's where I have friends or at least acquaintances who are now on SNL or have been, Luke Null, Chris Red, a few people that came up through the same exact system I did, played the same shows I did, slept on my now wife's couch at one point, and now they're up in New York making SNL episodes, and so that community is completely valid. And in Chicago, it's rich. Yeah. But I feel like if you're bouncing around and you go from one school to the other, class after class, or you have to move, the inconvenient thing is like, if I move to LA tomorrow, you have to start at level 1. And it's become almost a joke, like I'm not starting improv at level 1 when I move out there. Because it's brutal. And we're to a point now where I feel like I secondhand have learned so much from workshops we've done, people we brought in. Lizzie Daniels, who's gone through all of IO, brought all of that to us. And we, for the last 2 years, have been mainly focused on a completely improvised dramatic play format. Cool. So we've been doing those for like 2 years as a group, and those have been really well received. So just a lot of, even like, it gets down to improv theory and how to really structure one scene and blossom it into an entire play. That's what we've been studying for the last few years. And I feel like if I started at level 1 at Second City or IO, I would just be kind of kicking my can around, wondering when I'm going to get into something a bit meatier, But that's how you got to do it, I guess. So
I mean, I just enjoy my intentions were never to be like, oh yeah, I want to be on SNL or I want to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a fun thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a cool way to like, you know, use your brain in a different way. And
it's a fantastic skill. Without it, I remember being in community college when I first met a lot of my friends that are now, you know, we're in each other's wedding parties and we're just like as close as we can be. And at the time, I wasn't doing any improv and it terrified me.
Yeah.
You know, we would go to these like shitty open mics in the south suburbs at coffee shop, the Ashbury it was called. It was like this classic Thursday night improv where, you know, we would just like get high and go and like watch improv in the back of a coffee shop with an orange soda.
Yeah.
And it was just terrible. You know, it was just like all of these like townies that come in and think they're hot shit. And my friends would get up there and just like, they knew what they were doing. So they could run circles around these people that didn't know the rules of improv.
Right.
And it was incredible to me, but I didn't know the rules of improv yet.
Yeah.
So I tried to get up there a few times and I just didn't really know how to hold my own yet.
Sure.
So it would, you know, it was very much a dice roll every time I got up there and it made me nervous. So I avoided it.
Yeah.
But once I got to school, I auditioned for the group and I had known enough by then. I read a book called Truth and Comedy, which is like, you know, the improviser's Bible, I guess you could say. And that really helped out. And I was able to get into the group. And from there, like, I mean, I learned so much in such a short amount of time because everybody was just so focused on the rules and what to and not to do. And then once you know the rules, you're able to break them, you know?
Right. And you, talking about college, you said in college you did the speech team.
I did do forensics as well. Yeah. Illinois State Redbird Forensics. That's me.
Yeah.
That was my main reason for going to school at Illinois State.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did community college for my first 2 years at college, and I was part of the Moraine Valley Community College speech team. I had heard about speech in high school, but I'd done musical theater and competitive theater in high school.
What is competitive theater, by the way?
Competitive theater is one of two things from the high school I came from, Revis High School in the south suburbs. There are two different kinds. There's contest play, which is like a short play with a set and costumes and everything. And, you know, it's your traditional 50-minute one-act play.
Okay.
And schools will put them up and compete the different plays against one another. So,
how do you judge a play?
There are individuals that would come in, you know, like 5 judges or whatever, whether they're, I don't really remember the criteria for why they'd be judges, but I think they're just, you know, educators or teachers or people that have done this in the past and been involved in the community and now judge. But I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, performance, obviously, set design. Yeah. You look at the rising, falling action, I guess, you know, the flow of the play. You look at the ensemble. You look at if any mistakes were made. We got to the state finals my senior year with a play called Tall Tales. And at the state final performance, the lead character knocked over a glass of water that was on the table in the middle of the stage and then blanked. And just like 30 seconds of him struggling to figure out what comes next. And we eventually got back on track, but it was just brutal, you know, and that was my senior year. So it was like, well, that was it for me. And then the next year they did a play called Equus, which is like this really fucked up play about a kid and a bunch of horses that he has. It's like this really dark play, but it's amazing. And they won state with it the next year. So I came back. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, one more year and I could have been up there.
Yeah.
But, you know, c'est la vie.
Yeah. Because you don't really hear about, at least I'm from Wisconsin, a competitive theater.
I feel like there are pockets of it, you know, depending on where you're at. I know pretty much like the same with speech, you know, where California has a big speech community. There are, you know, a few schools that you wouldn't expect that have, like, Michigan has fantastic speech communities. Eastern Michigan's really good. Alabama has a great speech team. Florida, but Illinois, New York, you know, otherwise like, you don't see a ton of it. Just like, it's not a widespread thing, competitive theater or speech. Yeah. But I got really into it. I was like obsessed with it, you know, but then improv kind of pulled me away from that and showed me another color of performance that I really took to, and start to blend those all together when you get up there doing these things now that you're an adult. And you have the freedom to decide what you want to perform and do. And that's why I'm able to do so many cool things in Chicago all the time.
Yeah. Because I went to Bradley and there was kids from California, you could almost guarantee they were speech team kids.
Yeah, they're recruited. You know? Like Bradley, like I said earlier, was a juggernaut and still is a juggernaut. They've won, like, if you look at the record books, Bradley has, like, I'm just making this up, but they have to have like 20 of the last 30 years of titles. Yeah. You know, national team championships, which is like the prestigious thing to win. And I've watched them win at national tournaments over and over again. Yeah. And, you know, to their credit, I mean, I've seen some of the best performances in the speech community through the eyes of these kids from Bradley putting together these performances, you know? So.
Yeah, because I'm interested, because coming from like a speech background, it's very scripted and like thought through, right? Yeah, and like meticulous to like the T of what you're doing. So like when you went from that to improv, like did that mess with your mind at all? Like where you're like, oh, I got a
little
plan.
bit. Yeah, it kind of blended together, because I won't lie, like my brain has never been the like 110% finished and polished and sharp as a tack kind of deal. It's always kind of been like, get it 80% there and then just swing your bat at the rest, you know, which isn't always good. You know, I've learned, especially through having a professional career now, like you can't go 80% and be like, I'm good. But with improv, it helped me a lot, because having that skill really helps fill in the blanks of what otherwise, you know, folks would spend 40, 50 hours a week just practicing their speeches and getting everything so perfect and meticulous. But then you can almost come across, like, I think ISU had a vibe like that, where it was like, you know, don't forget to feel it. Don't forget to put yourself into these pieces and really like do what you're passionate about. And I feel like a few of these other schools, you know, Bradley to some extent, definitely. And a lot of these juggernaut schools, they would have like the most polished, rehearsed, hardcore, focused performances, but they aren't necessarily doing something that really means a ton to them. They're doing something that they know will win, you know? And so there's different ways to go about it, but
they got to plan down to like their finger movements.
Yeah, exactly. And like, not to say we didn't, you know, I mean, I've seen, one time, gosh, what was it? It was like 2 people from our team made the national finals. There's an event called Duo, where it's 2 people performing at once, and it's all like peripherals, where you're not actually looking at one another. You're like performing outward.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But you're like looking at each other's eyes as if it's like a mirror, you know? Yep. And that allows for all this blocking and movement and changes and like creating things together and pictures. And they cut a Legend of Zelda video game into a duo, and you just put a thesis behind it, an argument of some kind, and that's what makes it applicable to forensics. So whatever kind of argument you're trying to make, you can literally take anything and turn it into a speech piece if you have a valid argument that can be used, from like an intellectual standpoint. And they took a Zelda game and cut it into a performance and took, I think, like 5th or 6th in the nation with it. Wow. So it's really cool to see people just taking things that they really love and thinking through, like, how does this apply? You know, what argument can I make? Whether it's like something to draw from society or something I can just look up in a book, you know, and apply. And then they go and get to perform it, you know? Yeah. And it's a really cool aspect of that community. Yeah.
So from a young age, were you doing all this stuff too? Or was this something you got interested more in as you developed as a person?
I was the ghost of Christmas Present in a production of A Christmas Carol when I was in 3rd grade. No, in 3rd grade, I was, that was like the extent of my acting career until high school. Okay. But I did a lot of sports growing up. So I played football 4 years in high school. I did track and field, wrestling, and football I stuck with, but everything else was just kind of, I don't know, like I would rather be performing at that point. Yeah. And I enjoyed sports. I'm pretty athletic, you know, and I still just really enjoy the idea of performing so much that I knew I didn't want to like give up the spring play to do track and field. You know, I knew it was the opposite way around. So I pursued that. But then I'd always heard of these things like improv and speech, and I was starting to make more friends in the performance-based community, whether it was in high school or kids I started to meet in college, and they kind of took me under their wing and showed me all these different things I could do with the talent I didn't even really realize I had until I started performing in high school, you know?
Yeah. So when did the music start then?
Music started, me and my friends all went to these like little house shows that would happen all through high school. Okay. So me and my friends grew up skateboarding and listening to like punk rock and really bad new metal. And, you know, we would go to Warped Tours together and stuff. And I won't lie and say like my music taste was really eclectic and awesome when I was in high school.
I don't think anyone's was.
But I got into the idea of performing, and like, you know, that's where I really started to develop a passion for music, where I'm listening to these songs that I'm connecting with and really like feeling, you know. And my parents would always play music growing up. So there was always music playing in the house, whether it's like old school 90s country, you know, Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, or
grew up on that.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young playing or something. But my mom and dad, were always very into the idea of just, you know, listen to music, play music, right. Check it out. And so then when I got into high school, I was developing my own taste and going through my, you know, angsty emo teenage years. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to play in a band because I would go to all these shows at like the Ice Arena in Oak Lawn or this coffee shop back area where, you know, we would all go on the Friday, Saturday nights and see whatever random emo or punk band was playing. And couldn't really like pick up any instruments at that point. I don't know. Like, I don't think I had any real motivation from anyone to like, here's an old guitar I have, like, go learn. Nobody really stood by me there. The guy I was like playing with at the time, he was really into guitar and he was in a few like bands casually here and there. But he and I were really close and we would skate all the time. And I knew that I could sing a little bit. So we had a senior luncheon, like for all the seniors. And sometimes a few seniors would get up and perform. So me and this kid, Robbie, and my other friend, Tom, who also knew guitar, put together like a little acoustic group. And we performed a Dashboard Confessional song at the senior luncheon.
Which one?
Vindicated from Spider-Man 2.
Wow, that's a good one.
It was something. But you get so nervous, you know, because it's something you've never really done. And of course, just like the Wilem first show where I had nothing prepared, nothing written, and I'm getting up in front of a bunch of strangers, you know, and trying a performance out, you know, it's like you're setting yourself up to fail if you don't know what to do. And then back then it felt the same way, where I'm just like, I've never really sang in front of people before, and I'm getting up in front of my entire senior class. And I'm just going to do it, you know. But it was great. It was received really well. Like some, you know, high school kids don't know what to say, but I had enough people be like, I didn't know you could sing, you know, to really motivate me and the boys to then put together a full set of songs for the Battle of the Bands. That was a few months later. So we put together like an acoustic set that had a bunch of covers and a few songs we had written. And we called ourselves Weeks Till Wednesday. Oh, nice. And that was the name of my acoustic band. Thanks. The alliteration is important. You know?
Exactly.
So Weeks Till Wednesday played through some of college. We were playing some of those coffee shops and venues that I was saying we were going to as kids, you know. Now we were freshmen, sophomores in college, and mostly me and Robbie would do an acoustic duo where he would play the guitar and I would sing. And I think we put out like a really shitty EP that was on MySpace way back in the day, and it recorded in a friend's garage. And did okay. So that was like my first introduction to it. But then when I went away to school, I picked up my own guitar and started learning how to play. And then when I got to Chicago after college, it was like, I want to try this out.
So when did you morph it into sort of what it is right now? Like when did that decision, was it literally like that one time when you were left alone, you're like, Southern?
Pretty much. I mean, I knew I enjoyed folk music and playing, you know, influenced a lot by like bands like Iron and Wine and Tallest Man on Earth. And I knew like a lot of the indie rock I really liked had a lot of acoustic guitar and stuff too. So I wanted to play around with that. And I also really enjoyed the whole like high energy idea of like street performing or, you know, doing a one-man band kind of thing. So that's what I developed it into. And having a character around all that really helps, you know, ground it in such a way where you're able to put on this shtick. And I've had people come up to him and be like, so what part of the South are you from? We're from Alabama. We're in town. And I was like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm from here. It's just a thing. And sometimes they're like, ah, ha, ha. And then one time the Alabama couple was like, oh.
How dare you?
Yeah. Like they felt insulted. And I was like, well, sorry.
It's just an accent.
So I've toned it down since. You know, I don't really put on the drawl as hard as I used to, unless I'm out street performing. Then it's a whole shtick. I got suspenders on and a tambourine on my foot and stuff. You know, people love that. Yeah. And the cigar box guitar stands out really well too. Right.
Mm-hmm. Where do you even find that? Where did you find a cigar box guitar?
My now wife bought it for me 5-6 years ago from a guy who makes them on Etsy. So there's this guy in Miami. I've looked him up. I want to say it's like the Rose Company or something. And it's just this like, you know, late 50s, early 60s looking dude with like long white hair who lives in Miami with his wife. And they just make cigar box guitars. And they're amazing.
They're cool. It looks really cool.
I've been looking to re-up because I've been playing this one. I played the shit out of it to the point where like it barely works now. You know? And I still use it for one song every time I perform. I've got my favorite song called Daisy, which we haven't recorded yet, but it's just the most high energy, enjoyable song to play. And you get people clapping along and singing. And then when you bust out the cigar box guitar, you know, people really respond to that. And it helps that my buddy in our duo plays the musical saw. So he just like wails on that saw and people go nuts. People can't believe what they're seeing. They've just never even thought to Google that before. Or
it's such a unique sound that comes out of that thing.
It sure is.
If you look at it, you're like, that's not the sound I would picture. That thing would.
This like weird, like acoustic theremin kind of sound where it's got this warble. And the more Jake plays it, the more he really starts to get a feel for where it should be used in the songs and like where he should be playing it. You know, and granted, like it's not like he's classically trained in like where these notes are or whatever, but we've been, you know, figuring it out with time and we just jam. He enjoys it. He's sometimes really hard on himself, which is funny. Like he's just jamming on the saw and he'll be like, oh man, I totally messed up that song. I was like, dude, no, you didn't. Like you just played the saw. Like, everything was great, you know? But he's very hard on himself, which I respect. So
well, that's good. He cares.
Cares a lot about that. Which thank God. But the two of us started playing together and it really made for an enjoyable act to get up there at comedy shows or variety acts, or, you know, we started playing this DIY venue called The Shithole out here, which is still performing. Highly recommend going to a show. It's Message for Details. So they're all over the city, you hit them up day of and they send you the address. It's a free show, usually BYOB, and they'll grind through 25 acts in a 2-hour night. Everyone gets like 5 minutes hard, 4 or 5 minutes. And then
is it anything? Like you can do anything up there?
Pretty much. Like they'll screen to a certain extent where it's like, are you a comedian? Like, do you have any sort of, you know, if I was like a nobody and I didn't have any sort of like paper trail and I get up there and like, hey, I'm going to do puppetry or something. Like maybe they wouldn't go for it until they saw a picture of me with a puppet at least. So I can prove something. But I know they've put up a crazy amount of people that are now really doing things like they've moved to New York or LA, and like Bob Odenkirk showed up once just to check out the show because he'd heard about it. They're like over 500 shows at this point.
Well, if you put on 500 shows and you got 25 people up a night, you got pretty good odds. For people. Someone's going to be
big
good.
Time. They've been grinding it out. But you know, we heard about them just like Sofar, you know, a few years later, but just word of mouth, like, hey, have you heard this show? Like, you should check it out. I was seeing a few people sharing things online and they were just getting going. And so I emailed them. I was like, hey, I'd love to play. And they gave us a set and we did an improvised song.
That's cool.
And again, getting up there in front of a group and you got the saw and you got the cigar box and you got the drawl. And it's a whole bit, you know.
For sure.
So if you're improvising, people really stuck with that and they really enjoyed it. And so from there, we started getting more and more spots with them. And it became this kind of collective over the course of a few years where, I mean, I still keep up with these guys today and they're all artists and makers. You know, they create a ton of different things. Zach Bartz and Dan Wilcop, who are two of the co-founders there, are just like crazy artists. They're just doing shit constantly.
Well, it's pretty cool concept because like you're going to like somebody, you know, if they throw up 25 people up there, At least you're gonna enjoy a couple of them.
And the fact that they keep it so tight and grind through it, and like the one thing that's influenced me most about the way they run a show is like it's such a tight ship that I'm able to take a lot of how they run their introductions and just keep things moving you can adapt that to whatever show that you're hosting. Like I'll MC for Sofar. And it's so nice to be able to like get through my spiel, talk about what Sofar is, introduce the bands, and then let them play. And like you want to be charming and funny and maybe have a joke or two weaved into that, but you don't want to get up there without thinking through like, what do I have to say? How do I want to say it? What information is dire to the audience? And then what can I say really quickly to get them comfortable? And then now, how can I introduce the band?
That's like your 80-20 model from before with speech, Where you think about a lot of it, but some of it you just go for it.
Exactly. Exactly. So you really like have to put that together, and it's helped me a lot, which is being a better host. And the way they run that show is so tight that, back to your point, like you're gonna like something, and if you don't like it, it'll be over in 2 minutes. So
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. And I've seen plenty of shit I didn't like.
But it'll go away.
A lot of wild acts. It becomes this like almost anything goes kind of performance theater. And that is a really wonderful thing in itself. But then you'll catch a lot of cool music. I've found opportunities to collaborate with people. Ton of like some of the best comics in the city go to that and do stand up, and like it's just a good time. Because
the question I had from that is like, how has your act developed then? Because from the first one where you just literally were doing it because everyone left you.
I know, because I had nothing else prepared.
To now to a point where you are performing live and you presumably have a set and have like ideas of like where you want to go.
Right.
How's that developed?
It developed from mostly having a few songs that actually started being, concrete written, which was nice. I had just gone with this improvised song idea for probably like 6 months, and that was the bit. It wasn't like a band. It was like we were characters and we'll do a comedy show or this or that. And we could do music, feature music at the end of a comedy show or whatever, but we were mostly ingrained within the comedy community, open mics and stuff. And I wanted to play more real shows, but I also knew like nobody gave a shit about a guy who doesn't have anything recorded, who doesn't really have anything prepared. Like you can't really trust that, at the end of the day, unless I'm undeniably solid, and I wasn't. So I had a few things written, and I was learning guitar more effectively and different riffs and stuff just from playing as much as I was. So I started writing things down and crafting a few songs, and Shithole is where I played my first written song for Wilem live. And it was really well received. Another nice thing about Shithole is that, contrary to the name of the place, the audience is always extremely receptive and warm.
Oh, that's good.
Just to the point where it's almost detrimental to people sometimes because
you think you're doing really well and then you go out.
And I've seen people get up there and just like annihilate at Shithole. And then I see them again in an open mic and they just like crash and burn. Oh man, it's wild. And I've been one of those people too. Where it's like this song always slays. And then you go to play somewhere else and it's like, oh wait, nope,
there's a disconnect here.
So I started writing these songs and playing them more live and weaving them into my improvised set, where it would be like, all right, I've got 2 written songs that I want to play, or a cover and a written song, and then I've got 2 improvised songs, and I'll just like blend that together. And now I've got enough written songs to, like I said, record probably like a 13-song album. And I like having a balance where maybe I'll have a cover, maybe I will put in an improvised song or 2, but most of the time I'm crafting 3 to 4 songs in a set that are all written, Are
you writing the written songs from improvised stuff that you've done?
Sometimes, that's how a lot of it starts, where you're just kind of riffing on a guitar. Maybe I'm humming a melody, or I've had a few lines written down that I thought about that sounded cool, that I put into my phone or wrote down on a piece of paper. And, you can play around with that and try to see if that can develop into a chorus or a melody. But other than that, a lot of times it will be just riffing around on a guitar, or I play with a trio now sometimes. So it'll be me and Jake on the saw, and then our buddy Jeff, who is in another up and coming band called Violet Crime. He's the lead singer for that band in Chicago, and they're doing a ton of really good things. just like crazy draw. And they're just like annihilating it right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. But he and I are good friends too, and have always wanted to jam and stuff. And so he stepped in to play drums for us and harmonize a bit too. And I've never had somebody in the band that can really sing and harmonize.
Yeah.
So my buddy Ethan, who's also in the MoonSharks with me, the improv group, he moved to Colorado recently and he was playing bass in the group. So we had this nice 4-person group for a while in like 2017, 2018, because I was also working with a guy named Matt Mullen, who is one of the best drummers I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And he mostly plays like pop punk drums, but he was interested in something country. So he stepped in and he like played a few shows with us at Uncommon Ground and Shuba's and a few different full band sets that sounded awesome. But then he is entrepreneurial himself and opened up a coffee shop in the South Burbs where he's from. And that coffee shop is like gangbusters right now. Everybody's like crazy about it. So he's very busy with his...
Good news for him, bad news for you.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, well, I guess I won't get you on those drums anytime soon. So Jeff stepped in to kind of be the middleman there. As a harmonizer, we're still able to hold good melodies and like make up for a little bit of what the bass brought. And then with a drum box, like a cajon or a drum set, he's able to add a lot of really awesome rhythm to the songs and make them really pop. Yeah. So hopefully, you know, as long as, I don't know, I might try to play the bass or we'll find somebody to play it. But if we can get in somewhere to record at least some demos of these tracks that we're playing, I think they'll sound pretty good. Yeah. You know, so...
Yeah, so that's the next step for you. Are you getting in the studio anytime soon?
I have nothing planned. You know, that's the other really hard thing about it is I almost want to think about what I can do on my own and not have to require. I mean, Jake can come in and lay down a saw track almost any time. You know, and he works at Sugar Records right around the corner. So we rehearse there a lot. Okay, and you know, he's got time in the evening after he's done there to play or whatever, but it's, you know, it comes down to, it's a financial thing where if I'm thinking about it, you know, where do I want to put this money? You know, do I want to pour, I don't know, what could end up being $800 to $1,200 into an album? Or do I just want to kind of keep playing my songs in their current iterations live and not really worry about it?
Maybe you know? Meet someone that has a studio that you can use for free.
That would be sweet. Yeah. I'm also at a interesting situation where we as a company, you know, Sofar Sounds has a lot of remote employees. And so there's like 5 of us in Chicago. And
is this where the headquarters is? Because there's Sofar Sounds all over the place.
Right, right. They're in 400 plus cities across the world, but the headquarters is kind of like mostly London and then some of New York.
Gotcha.
But we work out of a WeWork here. Even though I'm kind of a lone wolf in Chicago. I don't work directly with the Chicago city or team. So I'm on my own here and I often work from home.
Gotcha.
But we're looking into getting a space with a good friend of ours who works for Hate Brand. They've now since rebranded into, oh gosh, I want to say it's like Good Company or something.
I was going to say Love Brand.
Yeah.
They want the exact opposite.
Something like that. But it's Chance the Rapper's like sister company. You know, Pat the manager, his manager started this brand, Hate Brand. And that's kind of where they, I want to say like distribute from, where they manage other artists like No Name, Applebee, other, you know, hip hop and R&B artists in the city. And they wanted to work together with us and like they're looking into getting a space and said they'd, you know, lease out a few desks to us so we could like work out of their space as well and merge so far what we have here in Chicago with Hate Brand. And the plan is to get a studio in that space for Chance to use. So I'm hoping, you know, just like if Elizabeth Warren gets president, I'm hoping my student loans will be wiped clean.
Me too.
But if we get this space with Chance the Rapper's group, I'm hoping that Chance will just be like, hey, Billy, here's some keys to the studio, you know, like making the band style. And I can just get whoever I want in there and pay them a much, you know, I won't have to pay for the equipment, which would be amazing. But then at the same time, you know, it's like the same thing with Elizabeth Warren. Like, am I going to kick the can around and just wait?
That's what I'm hoping for.
I know, man. That'd be so sweet. Oh man, Warren 2020.
Yeah. But back to your music specifically. So when people like suggest things, like let's say I shout out like I don't know, like My Last Cigar or something.
My Last Cigar. That would be a great song.
Yeah. And then you, so do you go with like verses and you have like an actual chorus in the song and then?
Yeah. I think like similarly to, what I've been taught with improv music is, my first year at Illinois State, we did a run of fully improvised musicals. So I was learning right away how to improvise a song. And the way that it usually comes down when you're trying to keep things simple with a group of students working on musical improv is like, okay, it can be, you always like start with a chorus that if it's like My Last Cigar, it would be like, I don't know, put out the butt, this is my last one. Put out the butt, this is my last one. So that's something you start repeating and you're singing it all of a sudden like, I'm putting out the butt because this is my last one. Putting out the butt because this is my last one. And all of a sudden you've got maybe the whole chorus of people on the stage in the musical chiming in and they know what to sing now. So everybody starts singing it or harmonizing it or whatever. And it's also a great way now that I'm doing this solo with an audience to get the audience singing because you can start a chorus and based on what somebody had suggested, they're usually pretty with you from the beginning if you've got a cohesive song being developed. And if all else fails, usually I'll try and tell a story with it. I'll start singing a verse. I'll go into a chorus like that. And then at the end, you can kind of slow it down. You can put in a bridge and like break it down in the middle. You get people singing the chorus. And then if all else fails, to end the song, you always just time jump to the end of character in the song's life. Where they're on their deathbed. Yeah. And you can just finish the song very solemnly where maybe they just like pass off into the night having smoked their last cigar, and then people just like go ape shit. Just like, oh my God, it was so sad and beautiful at the end. Like, I know it's a trump card there at the end. But yeah, I've made up some like really fun songs that I honestly like wish I had recorded because they could have been something, you know, and it was always really fun having Ethan play because he knows the bass well enough and improv well enough to really go along with me on whatever, seeing a trio or a duo of people like working together and improvising in sync is a lot more impressive than just one person doing it. Yeah. So
I'll sit in the back and yell that suggestion.
Dude, please do. Yeah. We'll just put you in as a plant. I got an extra ticket. But yeah, it's cool. Also, like watching people. I played a show in LA a few weeks ago. And it was just like beautiful outdoor venue in Venice Beach. I was up on these like concrete stairs as everybody else was in this like crazy jungle looking backyard. Yeah. And it was well lit. And I asked for a suggestion and somebody, I said like, it's the end of the week, like yell out your mantra. And somebody yelled like, I need fucking sleep. And then another one yelled like more coffee or something, So the song was called I Need Sleep, but fuck it, more coffee. That was what it was called. And like people got really into it because the chorus could just be this big like declaration of like, I should be sleeping, but I'm just going to stay caffeinated. I'm just gonna keep going, And people really got into it, and that's what stands out in people's minds, which can be a blessing and a curse because you get up there and you don't want to be this like niche shticky performer that only improvises and like is almost like the comedy of the night because people always laugh. But I also have all of these songs that I've written that mean a lot to me and I want them to listen to them and I want them to enjoy them.
So it's hard like balancing that, going back and forth.
Yeah, it's hard to balance. It's just hard for my own like satisfaction to walk away from a show where I know I crushed an improvised song and I know that's like the thing that I think that people walk away from the most. Yeah. Like, wow, that was amazing. But then it can sometimes take away from the fact that like, I sang a song that I wrote that's about me. And nobody really remembers that as much as they remember like, I need sleep, but fuck it, more coffee, which is fine. But yeah, finding a balance there where you're able to, I think it comes down to how you engage with the crowd and how you, again, keep it short and sweet, but share your story as well as your talent with people.
Because for them, it's like an experience, because they're becoming part of this song that you are creating.
It's ours now. That's the greatest part is like, I always kind of say that it's like, all right, now's the time where we're all going to make a song up together. Yeah. So here we go. And people start to get excited, you know, like they're nudging each other and like, oh, what's going on? You know? So they remember that a lot more than like, here's a song about, you know, like how alcoholism runs in my family.
Sure. Let's go from that to this.
I know, and they are always kind of like, or you know, here's a song about that I wrote the day after Donald Trump was elected president. It was real sad. So there you go.
Do you structure your set then to make sure like that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'll usually, if I've got a 4 or 5 song set, the improvised song will come second to last.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I'll make sure that the improvised song is put into there strategically so that maybe I get a few songs out of the way and I warm people up with like, hey, here's my music.
Yeah.
And then, and I've got a few stories on that. Like I've got the cowboy song that I sing is about, my wife and I do karaoke. We'll run karaoke nights in a few different spots in town. And there's one spot in particular where there's this just like old, disheveled, cowboy that comes in and he's like to the nines, belt buckle, hat, boots, everything. And he walks in and he's always like drunk when he gets there and even drunker when he leaves, you know, but he sings Johnny Cash and he's really annoying and he's a really close talker and he's really sad, you know, because he gets like carried out alone at the end of the night to a taxi. And I wrote a song about him, you know, just from my experience. And I like to tell that story when I'm starting the song because he'll always come up to me at the end of the night and like he's stumbling out of the bar and he'll look me in the eyes, no matter how annoying he'd been to me the night and go, "You're all right, kid," you know, and then he just like leaves. God, and so that's the name of the song.
He's like a cliche.
Yeah, he's very much a cliche. It was like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then he showed up again. And he's just like a weird old cowboy dude who lives in Logan Square, I guess, you know.
Oh, wow.
Probably by himself. And he's probably really sad. But hey, you know, good fodder for song material for folk songs.
Yeah, I was going to say so when is that hard? Because I feel like from my perspective, if I was like performing and I'm like, oh, this song means a lot to me. Yeah. You know, and like they're waiting for me to do like an improvised song. I'd be like, well, sure. Come on, guys.
That's why I save the improvised songs for closer to the end, because usually, you know, I mean,
they don't know what's coming.
Yeah. I guess like tonight it's a blend of comedy and music.
Sure.
So there's going to be a few comedians at the Sofar show, and then I'm going to perform the middle, and then there's a band to close out the night. And usually the band that closes out is always strict music.
Sure.
So I get to be this blend in the middle.
Right. You're kind of the transitioner.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll probably do like 2 improvised songs, and tonight I'm really going to lean into that idea.
Sure.
So I'm going to get up.
Show.
Right. I'm going to dress it up. I'm going to be in character. I'm going to probably start with an improvised song and then do a few of my songs and then close with the high energy song I always do. I'll do an improvised song again before that. So it'll go like improv, song, improv, song. And that'll be my set, you know, because normally I would just do one improvised song. But I guess if people knew what they were coming to see, that's the beauty of it too, is like I'm performing to a new audience every time I play one of these things. So they don't necessarily know that I do improv. Okay. But it's something that I can pepper in, and then, you know, I've already played a few of my regular songs, so they're not really expecting it. And it's just like a cool way to switch it up on them. I've always wanted to play music with, I know a few female musicians out here in Chicago that are just like, they blow me away every time they sing. Yeah. And I've always wanted to ask, you know, and I've had a few opportunities, but the timing's never been right to sing duets, you know, and to put together kind of a duet group. My wife can even sing amazingly. That'd be cool. Karaoke, you know, but she's always super busy.
Just cut some of her karaoke material.
I know, man. Yeah, I'll just sample
record
her.
It. Yeah.
But yeah, I think take the good with the bad and try to learn from that. Learn from like, okay, my regular songs didn't hit as well as I wanted them to. And sometimes it comes down to like, I wasn't well rehearsed. You know, I have a hard time finding time to rehearse with a full band now or whatever. And, you know, they'll remember the improvised song because it doesn't have to be the cleanest. Right. And the other songs might not have sounded as perfect as they could, you know? It comes down to just really making sure you see the full picture and don't just like get salty about, you know, somebody appreciating a part of your set, but not the whole picture. So
yeah, because I think a lot of the thing of like, oh, you know, you're talking about, you know, being sort of like niche or like having like a gimmick or something. Yeah, I feel like that only really the people that think about that most is the person that's doing it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
You're
mean?
your own worst critic.
Right. You look at like people like Donald Glover and stuff, and he does like everything.
Amazing.
But no one like thinks like, oh, Childish Gambino, like, oh, that's just a gimmick. Like that's just a rap thing that he does.
That's just his music.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
He's got his music, his acting, you know, he's got, I mean, yeah, so many artists nowadays, I feel like we're always so blown away by people that are multi-talented.
Sure.
But
Almost everyone is multi-talented.
almost everybody is multi-talented,
Yeah.
whether you can cook and sing, or you can draw and act and rap, or you can write and produce and, you know, I don't know, drive a race car really well.
Sure.
Like everyone is multi-talented, and it's just when they're all clustered together and you see like a Donald Glover type that comes out, and or like I even look at like John Darnielle, who's the lead singer of the Mountain Goats, who's also a brilliant author. Yeah, the Mountain Goats is, I mean, definitely listen to the Mountain Goats. They're amazing.
Yeah.
But he's got just like endless amounts of material with the Mountain Goats. And then he's also a published author. You know, he wrote this book. I read it a long time ago. It's Wolf in the White Van, I believe it's called. It's a really good novel. And it's just amazing to me to see singer-songwriters like that can also apply their skills to an entire novel, you know, entire fiction.
That's a different skill set.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. So you see people like that, but then you also see like the Gambinos of the world that are in Star Wars and also making hits like This Is America, or, you know, Awaken My Love and stuff. And it just blows you away, you know? And then also he's a comedian too.
Right.
So you get that triple threat. And yeah, I like that about myself, and I try to keep that as something to put me into perspective when maybe I feel like I've got too much going on.
Yeah.
But it's always a struggle to balance with your time. If it's not your career, painting and singing and improvising, you know, you've got to make sure that you're focusing on what matters. So.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's generally people are just too hard on themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that have talents, and if it's not their career, like they're not making money off of it, they don't consider it a talent for some reason. They're like, yeah, I don't really do that.
It's just a thing.
I'm like, yeah, you do though.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny. Like my wife, she has a double major in math and theater.
Oh, wow. Those are two
I know,
polar
right?
opposites,
Yeah. Double major. And when I met her, she was going through Improv Olympic IO out here in the city doing improv.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, I do improv. Like, you know, let's go on a date. And we did, and, you know, it worked out great. But over time, and she was a singer as well. And she knew guitar, and, you know, she had all of these artistic talents, and she still does. She's also an incredible artist. Like, she's incredibly multi-talented.
Yeah.
But as people grow older, I feel like what matters to you can easily change. And you find joy, the same kind of joy that you would find on a stage doing something that is similar but different. Like she teaches bar fitness classes now. You know, she gets up there and does these high energy in sync kind of like, you know, athletic workout classes to music. And, you know, it's all like very performative when she's on the mic. And I think she's found a way to translate the joy that she got as an actor, as an improviser, as an artist, to these, you know, this idea of like women's empowerment through fitness and being that influencer, that person that can get up there, and whether it's on Instagram or at a class or at an expo or whatever, really like shine as a performer.
Definitely.
You know, and that comes back to like speech and stuff too, where I love public speaking. Like I'll get up and do a presentation on something for my job or whatever I'm doing at the time. And it's nice to have that as a skill where, like I can comfortably get up and make up country folk songs as a character or improvise a play, or, you know, even just like perform something I've written. Right. Or I can put together a presentation and get up and like really know how to make eye contact with people and engage them and talk about things in such a way to where I'm like really honing in on what they should care about, what they should be passionate about, what I'm passionate about. And that all translates into one. So it's funny because I'll look at, my point is like, I'll talk to my wife and she'll be like, oh, I don't care about that stuff. I'm not interested in that stuff. And it drives me crazy because I'm like, you're so good at it. Like, oh my God, you could sing in a band, you know, you could audition for a play, you could do an improv group. Like you're amazing at this stuff, but it's just not something she's interested in, you know? So that's okay too. And we still find moments, pockets of time to goof off. And, you know, it's not like we're up on a stage improvising, but those moments come out, you know, just in regular conversation where you're able to have those bits and inside jokes and play off of one another, and it's fun. So.
Yeah, because I have the same thing like with my girlfriend. I'm like, you're so good at that. You could be doing that. But it's my idea of what would make her happy or what she enjoys. Right. And I'm like, well, I think that's really cool. So you should definitely pursue that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Rather than what makes her actually happy.
Right. Like I can give a lecture, but I don't want to be a teacher. You know, and like,
even though you'd probably be really good at it.
Sure. I'm sure I could, you know, do the 80-20 model and improvise my way around a lecture, something I care about, I'm passionate about, I've studied.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not something I want to pursue, you know, and I have to respect that with other people who might be multi-talented, but that's just not what they're into.
Right. That's like, there's a quote, I forgot, it's by some comedian or whatever. I think it might've been Dave Chappelle or something. He's like, the best comedians are not comedians. Yeah. You know, like the people that could have been like the best comedians never maybe pursued it, or never like, they did it for a couple times and decided not to do it. Like they're probably never going to be comedians.
Well, I watched, it's funny you say that. I was watching the Black Keys on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day.
He was recently on there.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan the whole time, because Patrick Carney is hilarious and dry.
Is it both of them or just?
Yeah, it's both of them. But although you wouldn't know it because Pat Carney talks the whole fucking time.
I feel like he talks all the time.
Dude is opinionated for sure. But he keeps riffing and he's just bullshitting and he's hilarious. You know, I really enjoyed listening to it. And Joe Rogan the whole time is like, dude, you should be a comedian. Like, you should do this. You should do this. And he's like, I just like bullshit. And that's a perfect example of like, he probably could be. He's got the demeanor. He's got the delivery. Like, but then almost, you know, always you put somebody who doesn't really care about that or isn't really passionate about that on their own accord. Right. And all of a sudden, you know, if Pat Carney was trying to be a comedian tomorrow, he'd probably bomb because you start thinking about it and getting in your head and you stop enjoying it. Right. Because it's no longer just bullshitting or whatever. Right, you know? Like with my wife, it's no longer just singing karaoke. Now she's part of a band. Right. You know, and she doesn't want that kind of responsibility.
It's become a real thing.
Yeah. Just like, you know, it's a blessing and a curse to do something that you love for a living because on one hand, you know, the whole you never work a day in your life thing.
I don't believe that.
Right. I don't either. I think it's that's a fantasy. Yeah. But on the other hand too, like, you know, you're doing, I right now feel like I have the equivalent of what I would always think would be my dream job. You know, I get to work with artists all day and, it's just a really wonderful company to work for. And I'm in the music industry, you know, but on the other hand, it's still the same day-to-day responsibilities and accountabilities that you don't have when you're just, you know, on the outskirts of it, playing music or doing it for fun or whatever. You know, when it becomes a job, it becomes a lot. The responsibility of it can really change the whole rose-colored glasses of doing what you love, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, you don't love all aspects. No. It's like doing this. Like I don't make any money off this, so I'm not going to consider this a job.
Sure,
but like,
sure.
It's like this right now, or what people are seeing, the hour of a podcast coming out is like a microscopic amount of the actual work that it takes. Like, the more of the work is like a lot of like administration stuff and researching and like there's so many aspects and similar. I'm
editing,
sure, right?
And like.
There's a lot of
outreach, cold calls, you know, all of that goes into that, man. Like, like kudos to you. Thank you for having me too.
No problem.
You know,
I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm like to say like for similar to music where it's like the thing you're performing is a little section of actually what it took to get on that stage and perform and to be in front of people. Like it's just a small part, but people are seeing that and they're like, oh yeah, that must be a great job. Like just based on seeing that little aspect.
Yeah. You know? That must be so cool. You're doing what you love all the time, you know, and you must never work a day in your life. And it's like, well, no,
I work all the time. Yeah. Like, that's why I'm here.
I even talk to musicians where it's like, oh, sure. You know, I get to play shows every night, but I made $5 at this show and I had to drive from DC to Boston.
I haven't showered in 3 days.
I haven't showered in 3 days and I've slept in the back of my Corolla those same 3 days. So you tell me if you'd like this life or not. Yeah, living that life. Yeah. Not everybody gets their big tour bus. And even if you do have the big tour bus, then you're stewing in a tour bus from, you know, Connecticut to Vermont. Yeah. Just like waiting for the next gig. And
right. Just sitting around waiting to perform, and then traveling, sitting around waiting to perform.
Yeah. Like my friends in Violet Crime, I was talking about, like they just started a year or two ago and they're blowing up and selling out shows and getting opportunities. And you look at that and you go like, damn, like how did they do that? How did they grow their following? How did they do this? And it's so much work on the back end that you don't see, you know? And that's where when these opportunities come up and people see it, like, damn, how did he get that? Or how did this person accomplish this? It's like, well, the hundreds of hours of work they put in, you know, to build a following or craft a product that works.
Yeah. So. And I think that's, I've started and stopped a lot of projects because the end goal necessarily wasn't because I like to do it. It was because like, maybe this will go somewhere.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then you just run out of steam because you're doing this so much and you're like, I don't really like this. And it's also not going anywhere. So I don't, what's the point of doing this? And so with something like this, I was like, well, I like having a chat with people. I like learning about people. Yeah. You know, let's just do this. If something happens, great. If something doesn't, who cares? I'm gonna still do it because it's fun. And that's a better attitude to have because you keep wanting to push and challenge yourself and all that. And if stuff comes along, great. And if stuff doesn't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's the same mentality I have with anything I perform, you know, whether it's improv with the MoonSharks or if I'm playing with my band or if I'm painting, if I'm drawing. Yeah. I just got an iPad Pro with Procreate.
I really want to get one of those. I've been drawing just on my computer on Illustrator, but it's a lot harder to do with the mouse.
I have a really hard time, with Illustrator and Photoshop. I just never really picked those up because of the aesthetics. The mouse and everything is difficult. But with an Apple Pencil and like a responsive iPad, my life has changed, man. Right. Because again, like you said, you know, you do this for fun. I've always doodled and drawn for fun ever since I was a little kid. Yeah. And I started getting more into it in college and painting canvases. And it was very like pop art, street art kind of style. And people really liked it. So next thing I knew, people were knocking down my door to buy canvases and to ask for commissions. Yeah. And as I get older and we move into a more digital age where people have podcasts and need logos, where people are looking to start a business or have a really cool image of like a family portrait of them dressed. I just got a commission for a husband, wife, a dog, and a cat in like a nautical theme. You know, they want like a drawing of them as you know, like a family portrait, but like he's the sea captain and she's like the pirate. And so having Procreate and like a digital forum for that is so nice as an artist now, because as these opportunities kind of pop up, I actually have a medium that works because I was just unable to create anything digitally for so long. And that's now what's in demand. People don't necessarily just want like a sheet of paper with a drawing on it or a picture of that to then have to edit on their own, you know? So it's been amazing, but those opportunities, they pop up out of nowhere. You know, I'm not actively pursuing my art as like my number one income or even a portion of my income, but it's still really fun to do. And
that's something
I
you
do it
like
because I like doing it. And then, you get maybe a little commission off something or somebody will share something and you get that exposure or whatever. And you know, take it as
it's a little perk, you know,
a little perk. Of being talented in one way or another. Or at least trying to be.
So, where can people, do you have a website centralized for all that stuff?
I don't have a website centralized for all that stuff. I should probably get something that has more of like a, this is me kind of deal. But Instagram is the best way to contact me. You know, through the three outlets we just said, Wilem, Hurricane Simmons, and the Severe Weather Warning can be contacted at Wilem Band, WILEM Band. The MoonSharks can be contacted at the MoonSharks, all one word. And my Instagram for my art and personal is Look at Goob, GOOB, one word, Look at Goob. Nice. So Instagram's the best way to follow me.
You got 3 different.
I know, bro. It's crazy. Sometimes I'll hit the wrong button when I'm shuffling through. Yeah, I've done that before. I'm just like, why is this random comedian on my? Oh, I'm on my improv one, not on my music one. So but other than that, it's not too bad. Yeah,
I was gonna say, have you posted anything wrong on one of them? Because I've done that. I've done that before. I have like 3 that I post on, and sometimes I accidentally do. I
haven't done anything incorrectly yet, but I did confuse myself just yesterday because I have this awesome picture of me and a labradoodle that I shared on my personal Instagram, and then I it was at a show I was playing, so I was like in the garb, and I wanted to share it again, so I shared it on my band, and now I get confused like which is which because the first picture is the same. But that's the closest I've come. Otherwise, I might jinx myself, but I haven't screwed that
right
up
away.
yet.
Then
I know, man. False advertising.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
This has been so great, Sam. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.